Hi guys, Debbie here with Wrestling in 60 Seconds. I wanted to tell you about our NXT weekend. Let's start off with Friday night. We were in Jacksonville, and it's really interesting. It was our first time back at a house show in a while. I've had some health issues that I was dealing with. I'm doing better, thank you for all your prayers. We did the Q&A, which was Draco Knox, Dante Chen, Miles Bourne, and Kendall Gray. If you do go to a house show, you have an opportunity. It's an add-on. It's called the Q&A. For $20, you get to talk to 4 wrestlers. You get a photo opportunity, their autographs, and it's well worth it. And plus, you have a lot of fun. My question was to Kendall Gray. We had talked to her about Evolve, and of course, this Tuesday's Sensation big show. And Deborah, it was funny because she had everybody laugh. For those who don't know, she's a huge Miles Bourne fan, okay? And he knows this. And so she asked him if he would do the Randy Orton pose. No. And he says, I do it every day in front of the mirror. She said, yeah, but when did you do it now? He said, well, maybe I'll do it during the match. And I guess he forgot, but it was funny, and everybody just laughed. And he actually said that Randy Orton, he would love to have, that would be his dream match to have against Randy Orton. The thing about Friday night that surprised me so much was Danny Sikowski. If you had seen this girl in the ring, what I saw compared to what she is on LFG, it is like night and day. This girl kicked butt in the ring, you know, and I was like, where has this person been? You know, where has this Danny been? So, it was interesting. We enjoyed it. The other thing that I will give you a heads up on is that, you know, we've been doing NXT house shows for years now. And in the beginning, it was NXT. And usually, you know, some of the older talent, some of the newer talent, it was a nice mix. And then when LFG started, LFG would be there, you know, doing matches with NXT. And now the change up is now it's Evolve's coming into the NXT house show with the NXT talent. And so I thought, well, that's okay. I guess that's to be expected. You know, they have to do, they've got to do something anyway. So our last night's show, oh, and I will say this, they had Stax Lorenzo and Adriana Grace. Now, you guys know that they are actually a couple in real life. I don't think they're married, but they are a couple. And now they're doing mixed tags, or they're doing singles, but when they come out as a team. And they are hilarious. I mean, hilarious in the ring. You know, it's the two of them, you're going to get a lot of laughs. And they put on quite a show. So, they're kind of over the top. He says that he's over, you know, the dealings with Tony D, and it's kind of odd because has anybody seen Tony D'Angelo in a while? Have they secretly moved him up, let him go? What? I don't know. Maybe I missed it during the time I was ill. I don't know. But anyway, and then last night, we went and we did the Q&A, and I'm so glad we did because we love Wesley. We have a good, I want to say friendship. We have talked. He was actually our first interview. He loved the interview. He's the one who I asked him if he had ever been to the Tokyo Dome, And he said, yeah, he had. And I said, well, who did he wrestle? And he said he wrestled Will Ospreay. And I said, was that before or after he broke his neck? And he said, wow, you make me think. I just smiled at him. And he said it was before Will Ospreay broke his neck. And he said, I beat Will Ospreay in the ring. And I was very impressed because I'm a big Will Ospreay. In fact, I'm a big 3-0 Omega Okada Ospreay fan. Anyway, getting back. And so during the Q&A last night, it was Wesley High Rise and none other than Callie Armstrong. And I was very surprised that High Rise and Callie Armstrong were in track and field. She was a runner, very much like Bianca Belair, and I think High Rise did shot puts. I'm not sure. I think that's the big ball that they throw. Anyway, my question to Callie is, who inspired her once she decided to go in wrestling? And she said her biggest influence was Bianca Belair, mainly because of the fact that they did the same kind of sports prior in college, prior to going into wrestling. And I asked her, I said, did you ever watch her early stuff when she was in NXT in the very beginning? And she says, not in the beginning, she didn't, but the more that she started watching her, she started going back and watched the progressive as she is the star that she is today. And I thought that was really good. A lot of times when we go to these things, because we know Blake Howard, and if the audience is real quiet or don't have questions, they just want to sit there and listen rather than ask, they'll keep coming back to us because we've always got questions. So Blake Howard came back up to us and they said, do you have a question? I'm like, yes, I'd like to ask Wesley, because, you know, for a while he's been in the manager position of High Rise. And I said, Wes, when are we going to get some hardcore matches? Because for those who don't know, Wesley loves hardcore matches. You know, WWE isn't too crazy about hardcore matches. So I said, you know, what about a table, ladders, and chairs? And he said, well, you know, I don't know, you know, maybe a possibility. And somebody spoke up and said, well, who would you like to do it? He said, well, you know, I'd like to do something with Finn Balor. And I said, oh, you mean as the Demon King? And he says, whoa. And he says, you want tables, ladders, and I'm like, yeah, let's do all three. I said, because, and I don't know if anybody remembers this. I think it's been maybe 2-3 years ago when it was at a PLE, an NXT PLE, where, and it was before he had back surgery. Wesley, I think he was thrown and the ladder was laying flat, prepped up against another ladder on the side of the ring. And I don't know if he fell off the ladder or somebody threw him off the ladder, and he landed back first on top of that ladder. And the ladder literally bent in two, and I was so sure during that PLE that he broke his back. I'm like, oh, he's done. If that height on that ladder, and the ladder gave, and it took him a while to get up, and they did send somebody over there to check on him to make sure he was okay, and he got back up and he finished the match. And he said, yeah, I remember that. And I said, yeah, I really didn't think you were going to get off there. And I said, but nobody has done that in a long time, and people love those. And the audience just, you know, backed me up. And especially Finn Balor being Demon King, going against Wesley. And for those of you who don't know, also, Wesley was also in Lucha Underground. So a little FYI on Wesley. Also, Callie Armstrong, one of the sweetest people you would meet. You know, she is nothing like her character. and it's interesting. Somebody, I went up and I spoke to her, and I told her, I said, you are an empowerment for women. And I am so happy to see a character like yours where it's not about, your outfit, or how you look. You go out there and you kick butt. So she thanked me for that. In fact, she hugged me, and she actually did a match last night against Lola Vice, and of course Lola won, but boy, she took a beating. We also, like I had said before, I talked to Danny Sikowski. She was sitting there at the house show, and I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, Danny," I said, "we were at the show last night, and wow, where was this person?" And, she just smiled and she said, "I had to make some changes in order to be able to stay here." And I said, "What? Such an improvement. Such an improvement." And she blushed, and she is just like the sweetest person. But anyway, it was interesting to talk to her and give her some feedback on her match that she had. Also, what was there was also Stax Lorenzo and Adriana Grace. But I was very surprised that, let's see, Anthony Luke and Maxine Dupree was there, and they did a mixed tag, and that was a good match. I would see one of those matches just about how comical it is, and stuff like this, and it's a good match. It really is a good match in spite of the comedy, and there's really good involvement between Anthony Luke and Stax. And of course, it's the comedy between Stax and Grace that is really funny. And man, Maxine Dupree, she just killed it in the ring last night. Poor Adriana Grace, even though that Stax interfered and he tried to protect her and stuff like this. So that was pretty cool too. I will tell you too why I have you on here, because I didn't mean for this video to be so long, but we are also going, I really wish it was on a different night. We are actually doing AEW Homecoming this Tuesday and Wednesday in Jacksonville. AEW was just a lifesaver for us. And it's kind of funny because we didn't start our channel until after this. And I had said to Hot Miss Deborah many times, I'm like, we should have started it way back ago when we were going to AEW weekly, because we were always running into talent. We did their actually first AEW Fan Fest. We had tons of pictures. We usually sat next to the commentary table that was in the audience and not on stage. But usually nowadays, like when we do go to Daly's Place, during the commercial breaks, a lot of times Tony Schiavone will come down and talk to us, chit chat for a while, and Nigel McGuinness, because we knew him from NXT and he remembered us, so he'll come down as well. And between NXT and AEW, they are the ones who really inspired us to do a channel. Plus the fact that that was something that Hot Miss Deborah always wanted to do. And because of health reasons, we were going to delay it for a while, but time is running out. But AEW, we got to meet so much of the talent there and the people behind the scenes. And it just really felt like home. And especially during the COVID era, because Hot Mess Deborah has allergies to the COVID vaccine, I was talked into taking the first dose of the COVID shot, and that's actually what happened to my face. It paralyzed the left side of my face, and you know, my thought is there was never any warnings about that, or what, that it killed people, that it gave them miscarriages and stuff like this. And I really felt that, we should have been told, because there was many people who paid that price, and we should have had that option. So because we couldn't take the COVID vaccine, they would check your temperature. If it was normal, you could go on in. And we went weekly for almost a year. And even when they started, before, as the restrictions started to ease up, they were still holding shows there. And I was just like so heartbroken, because I knew once they left there from the COVID era that it would be a while before they came back. And so I always look forward to them being in Jacksonville at Daly's place. It's such a special place. Anyway, I'm sorry for keeping you on. I hope you enjoyed this. As always, I want to thank you for watching, subscribing, and until next time, bye for now.